Hi everybody, this is Yolanda again, going Facebook Live today. It's a little darker in here than it was last time because we have a storm brewing outside, and also this is Lulu, and Lulu refuses to not be involved in this video. So there we have it. So today, I want to talk about risk, and my little card here for you, and kind of before I dig into this subject, first I want to say, hopefully you'll catch this a little bit, and I probably will yammer it on again, but I'm not going to stand on any kind of formality when I post on Facebook. Really, my objective is to kind of just get stuff out of my head, and there's always a lot of stuff going on in my head. I have a tendency to stew and get in my head about things, and then I realize, this is something I should be talking about. And so today, my thought was to talk about risk, and something sort of spurred that to happen. So let me start with a story. So a couple of months ago, I had the opportunity to go to Changing Hands bookstore here in Phoenix and see Diana Nyad, the swimmer who swam from Cuba to Florida. I had an opportunity to see her speak, talk about her book. So I grabbed a ticket, and I was early, I'm always early, and grabbed a seat in the front row. And, there was just a handful of us there. Not too many people had shown up, and in comes Diana. She's kind of a ball of energy, and she came walking up to the front, and I, being myself, decided that I was going to say hi. She's just a regular human being. So she got up to the front, and I jumped up, and I said, hey, my name's Yolanda, introduced myself, shook her hand, said, hey, it's great to have you here. Thanks for coming. I'm really looking forward to your talk. Would it be okay if some of us got some photos with you? She was really gracious, and said, yeah, sure, absolutely. And so people kind of jumped up in front of me and wanted to get their picture, and I was chatting with a lady behind me, and she was mentioning that she was a cancer survivor, a breast cancer survivor, and, I've been through the same kind of a thing, and so it became a little bit of a topic, and in talking with Diana, I said, well, things are better. I'm not a swimmer. I said, but, I am a runner, and I like to get out and do running, but, it hasn't been that great. But, hey, it's all just part of the process. And really, her story is very inspirational in that there are so many hardships, having to attempt that swim so many times, finally getting through it, all of the obstacles that came with it. Not knowing that she would actually be able to do it was, another one of those obstacles. Would the weather hold? So it's a really inspirational story, and I followed it. I followed the swim when it was happening. It was just a big deal to me. It was really, really motivating. And so getting a chance to talk to her, we got our picture. It was great. So she did her talk, and then after the talk, she did the book signing line. So you jump in line with your book, and she signs it for you. And when I got up to the table to have my book signed, she said, well, how are you doing now? And I said, oh, well, I'm getting there. I'm not quite at 3 miles of running yet, but I'm getting there. I'm trying. And she said, no. How are you really? Like, how are you doing? And I said, well, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. She said, so no issues, you're better. And I said, yeah, I am. I'm doing well now. I don't have any complications. And, I'm kind of, I guess you could say I was kind of in remission. And so remission is a fallacy. We'll talk about that another time. So she said, excellent. And then she gave me this giant bear hug. And it was just really sweet is what it was. It was just really, really sweet. And that moment stayed with me. And until recently, I hadn't really thought about that. So a couple weeks ago, went to ballet, and we sat friend of mine and I went and we sat next to two other women that were there, and one of the ladies, was kind of whispering and looking back and whispering and looking back. She leaned over and she said, you know if that's the guy? You know the guy? And I'm like, so I turned around, took a look, and I'm like, yeah, that's the guy. She was talking about the conductor for this Phoenix Symphony. His name is Tito Muñez. And he was sitting a couple rows behind us, obviously taking in the show. And she said, oh my God, that's him. And I'm like, yeah. Wasn't thinking all that much about it. And she says, oh, well, do you think it would be okay if we said hi? And I'm like, I'm sure it would be. And she says, well, will you say hi? Will you, make sure it's him? I'm like, okay. So I said, we'll wait until the intermission. So the first intermission came, and she leaned over and she said, are you going to find out? Okay, I'm going to find out. I don't even know this person, right? So I stand up, and my friend's off to the restroom, and I stand up and I walk, across and lean over and say, hi, my name is Yolanda. I said, I just kind of wanted to confirm that you are the conductor for the Phoenix Symphony. And he said, yes. And I said, awesome. I said, I just wanted to thank you. I mean, you do a wonderful job. And I go to the symphony frequently, so I recognize him. He does a great job. I let him know, how appreciative I was of his practice of telling us about the music that they're going to play, because there's always a big piece, like you go to see Bolero, or you go to hear Bolero, but before that there are other symphonies pieces that are played, and they aren't always familiar, and so he will get up and let you know a little bit about the pieces of music that you're going to hear, and a little bit of history, and it's fun, it's great, he's lighthearted about it, and so it's really adds to the show. And I said, thanks for doing that. I think it's really great, and it really helps me to enjoy the show more, because I don't always know all of the music that's being played. So he was a little standoffish. He wasn't the most friendly guy I've ever met, but again, he was being bombarded by me. And so the woman came running up, right, the one that had said, can you go make sure it's him? And I said, she wants to meet you, we're here to see the show. And she was just all excited. And I said, you're a little bit of a celebrity now tonight. And I said, so, I asked him some questions, whatever. He was gracious. I'm sure he didn't want to be bothered, but he was gracious. He was kind. After we were done, everybody sat down, and that was kind of the end of it. So a few nights, last week, one more little story to kind of bring this all full circle. A few nights, it was about a week ago, I went to dinner with a friend. And she was sitting across from me. And behind there were two tables. One had two ladies, and the other one had two guys. And we were chatting and laughing and enjoying ourselves. And the table across from me, there were the two gentlemen, and one of them just kept looking. Every time I kind of glanced that way, this guy's staring at me, and I'm like, what the hell, right? Because I don't like being stared at. No one likes being stared at, frankly. But I just kept catching the eye contact. And so at one point, I just kind of made brief eye contact. In other words, I can see that you're looking at me. I am acknowledging that you're looking at me, but I'm not going to give you more than that. And I went back to my dinner guest. So, and she and I were just having a good time, laughing, chatting, eating, nothing, any more than that, just, having fun. But the guy just, it kept happening, and, I tend to be very observant about my surroundings. I want to see what's happening. I want to see where all the players are. I don't know what causes me to have that habit, other than the fact that I'm really observant, and I like kind of people watching, and I just kind of like seeing, what's happening. So that's the reason I just kept catching this guy staring at me. So I thought, why is he staring? Pretty sure I don't have food on my face. If I had food on my face, my dinner guest would have said, you have food on your face. I'm pretty sure that wasn't the reason. It was late in the evening. It was after 8 o'clock at night. And we were just there to grab some food because we'd been at a lecture earlier. And I just thought the whole thing was weird. So what if he was looking at my glasses? maybe he liked my glasses. So let's just assume that for argument's sake, he kept looking over because he really, really liked my glasses. These glasses, right? And the reality is, he could have walked over at any time and he could have said, hey, I really like your glasses. Where did you get them? And I would have given him all of the information about where I got my glasses. Not a big deal to me, really. I mean, there is absolutely no reason why I wouldn't share that information. But he didn't do that at all. And so after we were finished eating, we gathered our stuff and off we went. And this man and his friend were still sitting there. And I walked out the door and I thought to myself, that's a missed opportunity for that person. It stuck in my mind that for whatever reason, I was of some interest to this guy, and he never once acted on that. He didn't take a risk. And it got me to thinking about risk-taking and about the fact that I see everyone that I come into contact with as a human being, first and foremost, right? We're human beings. We're all on this planet. We're pretty much all the same in that we're human. And that doesn't make us special. I believe that every single one of us is special, but it doesn't make you any more special to be human and to have a talent or to have maybe more earthly possessions than someone else. That doesn't make you extra special. And so I don't ever find it uncomfortable to introduce myself to someone, whether it's Diana Nyad or the conductor of the symphony or some stranger at a networking event. And that's my point about risk and the reason I told the different stories. For me, had I not taken the risk, something that not everybody I know would have done, jumped up, got in Diana's face and said, hey, here I am, can I have a picture? And chat. I would never have had that second moment, right? The moment when I was in line just waiting to get my book signed, and the moment after an hour and a half where she remembered what I had said to her at the beginning, and where she showed concern and compassion. And I would never have had that bear hug that will stay with me forever. It's a memory that I'll keep forever, and I will always be honored. I took a risk, and yeah, at the moment when I jumped up, I had a little bit of a nervousness. We're all a little nervous when we're going to meet someone we don't know, because we don't know what's going to happen. And sure, I have those feelings, but I push them down. I'm able to push them down and go ahead and move forward. And that's my lesson. So Mr. Eyeballs in the restaurant, he could have been the perfect vendor for me. He could have been someone I could have done business with. And we won't ever know. Like, we won't ever know if it was the glasses. We won't ever know if maybe he recognized me from someplace. You know, I don't know that he looked familiar, but maybe he recognized me from someplace. I could have been his single best customer over the next 10 years. But we'll never know. And we'll never know because that person did not take a risk. When we're talking about business and personal life, it is true that without risk, there is no reward. And however small the reward might seem, a bear hug, for instance, it's worth it. It's worth it. The fear that you feel, and I'm an introvert, right? I'm an introvert. That doesn't mean I'm shy. So introversion and shy don't always go hand in hand. And I'm a little bit shy. But as an introvert, you know, it's not my first reaction to just go up to strangers. But I do it because I understand that there is a risk involved in expanding your network of people and expanding your world, your personal environment, like the world that you live in. And there's a huge reward for doing that. Um, it's not my job to take risks for you. So Mr. Eyeballs in the corner, it's not my job to give him like some kind of like signal, like, come on over and talk to me. Tell me what it is you want. It's not my job. It is no one's job, but yours. It's your job. So when it's time to do the difficult thing, I want you to remember that taking a risk can be not just rewarding, not just fulfilling. It can be the difference between growing your business to success or stagnation. If you are not willing to get out and meet new customers, new vendors, potential employees, it's so vast, the number of things that can happen with a simple introduction. There are so many people that I would not now have in my life were it not for a simple introduction. Some really important people, some really awesome and cool people I would not know if it were not for the introduction. And sometimes that introduction is as simple as going up to someone and saying, "Hi, my name is Yolanda. It's a pleasure to meet you." And asking a question and being okay with the fear. And I want to comment just before I close up, I want to comment on the fear. We're scared that people are going to reject us. I think that could primarily be some of what happens, like what some of this fear is. But the reality is, as cynical as I am, I find that people are really innately kind. They are. People don't set out to hurt your feelings. People don't set out to be mean or unkind. People are people. It is very possible that Mr. Munoz, the conductor for the Phoenix Symphony, is simply shy and introverted. He may have had a lot on his mind. It's unclear as to why he wasn't super friendly, but it's not for me to expect. It's simply for me to accept that was his feeling right then, and it could be how he is all the time. I don't know the guy, but he was not unkind, and that is the point. He wasn't rude, he wasn't dismissive, he wasn't unkind, he wasn't mean, and I find that for the most part, people are not. So they may be uncomfortable at the immediate moment that you introduce yourself to someone. It's always possible that they're uncomfortable themselves. And that discomfort that they have can be portrayed in a number of different ways. And we may read it as, they don't want to talk to me, or they're being, standoffish. But really, they might just be uncomfortable. You just need to give them a few minutes, and you just need to be yourself and not be afraid, because people aren't going to destroy you just because you asked for an introduction. And not everybody is going to be the kind of person that you want to meet anyway. So take it for what it is. If someone isn't especially friendly, move on. If they are, take advantage of that moment when you just might meet a person who you mesh with. This morning I had the opportunity to spend a couple of hours with my sister. My sister from a different mother, or from another mother, as we say. Heidi, and she's here visiting in town, and we had a chance to sit for a couple hours and have coffee, and we met at a conference, and she's just as introverted as I am, and I don't even remember specifically kind of how we met, but we just clicked, and we have become friends, and I trust her, and she is someone I know I can count on, and for as little as time as we spend together, it is a hugely important relationship to me. So I think that what I'm trying to say is that in that moment, you just don't know who you're going to meet. It could be your new bestie. It could be your new best customer. It could be the man or woman of your dreams. You just do not know. So take a risk, build your network, grow your business, and also grow your personal life, because your personal life affects your business. meeting new people, telling them what you do. You never know when there's a referral in there. And I'm big with referrals. That's a great way to build a business. It's a low stress way to build a business. So, so that's about all I've got. I've got my guitar here, and I don't want to, I don't play, but, you know, I just want to do this for Tom. And so, since I don't play, I'm not going to play anything really complicated. I'm gonna hit a G chord for him, and that's about it. So don't ask me to play the guitar anymore because it's just not going to happen. I don't play that well. There's a D. But thanks for tuning in, and I'm going to have this posted later in case you want to check in with me and ask me some questions. But if you did happen to catch me, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And if you have any questions about risk, aside from go out and be risk-taking, let me know. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.